Hi, everyone. It's a beautiful day to be outside. I don't know where you are, but I hope even if the weather isn't perfect, that you're out in nature somehow absorbing the positive fresh air and maybe the breeze and maybe the wind, maybe the snow. Who knows where you are? Maybe you're by a lake, a river, or ocean. But I want to talk today about something that people don't talk about enough, and that's trauma bond relationships or trauma bonded relationships. They happen more often than not. And if you just look at our relationships in this country, they absolutely suck. I mean, the American Psychological Association just a couple years ago came out and said 79%, 80% of couples responded to their survey saying that they have never had a worse relationship than what they're in right now, or their current relationship has never been worse than what it is. And you have to think about all the different reasons, right? COVID, inflation, the political insanity, wars all over the world, but that's not always the case. Many of these relationships began in trauma. Many of these relationships began with two people, possibly both of them in trauma, getting together, or it could be one person, and they never work. The odds of a trauma-based relationship never work. Now, what does that mean? Let's say that you lost someone very close to you, and you're struggling and you're suffering and everything else, and then just out of the blue, you meet someone who says, oh my God, I'm here for you whenever you need me. And so it sounds great, right? And so you start to talk to them, and then you get a little closer, a little closer. If it turns into a relationship, the odds of it lasting are almost zero, unless the other person has gone through immense training and they don't become codependent on their desire to help you heal. And we see this all the time. I remember I was in a trauma bond relationship. This is back in around 2000. I had lost an incredible position, amazing job that I absolutely had loved. And I was shocked because it wasn't anything that I had done. They just decided, the corporation decided that they needed to cut all certain programming hours on weekends, and my radio show happened to be there. Even though we were in the black, highly successful, I got cut. So it was something that was very traumatic for me. And what happened was, within about 30 days, I had met a woman and we started to talk, and she's had all this compassion for me. And oh my God, that's so wrong, David. 10 years, you brought in all this money. And we created a bond based on my trauma. There are other people that create trauma bonds based on their exes, their former relationships. They get together and they start talking about how their ex-wife, ex-husband, former wife, former husband, whatever words you want to use, were just a complete idiot and blah, blah, blah. And now they're bonding on trauma. You see, it doesn't work that way. In other words, the mistake that I made when I lost that job and ended up 30 days later starting to see someone and got into a relationship is I wasn't ready. Oh my God, I had to go through grief. I had to go through the grieving process, which I didn't actually go through for about 8 months because I was with this person in a relationship, and our relationship absolutely turned into hell. Why is that? Because she expected that when she was there for me, that I would drop everything. Within a couple months, I should be healed. I should be better. What are you doing messing around still frustrated with this radio gig? And it turned into a bunch of arguing. If you're hurting, that's the worst time in the world to get into a relationship. If you're hurting because you've lost someone, if you're hurting because you've lost a dog, if you're hurting because you've lost a career, you're hurting. That's the worst time to get into a relationship. Another worst time to get into a relationship, often happens with trauma bond, is if you decided to get sober. And, you have 30, 60, 90 days and you feel on top of the world. And so you start dating someone, but you're still in trauma. You're grieving the loss of your drug or alcohol. Trust me, that happens. And you're not grounded. Trauma bonded relationships feel so good in the beginning, but both people usually end up with resentments. If you need help, reach out to me. This is so common. Oh my God. Listen, as a counselor, as a master life coach, as an author of all these books, for me, to see myself in a trauma bond relationship blew my mind. They're devastating. They can be so debilitating. They can rip apart your heart. And if you're a really good person and you're a generous person, that other individual who's in the trauma bond with you, they may not be as nice and kind as they were when you first started. So what's the moral of this story? Never get into a relationship if you've been through trauma, lost a job, lost a partner, a marriage, a family member, a dog, a pet, a house, or whatever it might be. Give yourself time to heal. I always tell people this: never date until you're happy single. So if you've gone through a grieving process, never date someone until you've completely finished the grieving process, or there's probably going to be a lot of chaos and drama that you don't need. If you need help in making a judgment about, am I in the right place and should I leave and all that kind of stuff, reach out to me at talkdavid.com. Or maybe you've just lost someone, or maybe you've lost a job or a pet, and you say, okay, David, could you prepare me for the next 6 months or a year of what I need to do in order to be ready so I don't bring my past trauma into this relationship? And that's what I did when I lost that job. I brought my past trauma, my frustration and everything else into this relationship. That was my fault. Her fault was being the savior. We both made major errors, I'll tell you that one. If I can help you, go to talkdavid.com. We have 4 books on motivation, absolutely free there. You've been tuned in to the most positive podcast in the universe, David Essel Alive, right here on Buzzsprout.com. Share these videos, visit Buzzsprout, Google my name. You'll find thousands of hours of videos just like this, helping you make better decisions in life. I'm David Essel. Have a beautiful day.